Well, hello again, everybody. Happy Halloween Eve. I'm so happy all of you could be here. I love this specific webinar so much. Um, I first want to give a great applause to both my coworkers, Nicole and Jaden. They did amazing work, so I'm so excited for them to show you guys what they prepared. Um, and of course, we always want to make sure that all of you leave here not only having fun, but making sure that you guys learn something new. Let's get started. Today we are going to be talking about special effects makeup. So I'm sure many of you are excited about that. If not, you wouldn't be here. If you yourself have experimented with special effects makeup, please let us know in the chat and let us know what you've done in the past. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and toss it over to Hector, who's going to be talking about, of course, careers.
And this is part of a series of webinars that we've been doing this month, trying to focus on Halloween. A couple of weeks ago, we did one on costuming, and this is kind of related. So it's a nice companion to that. And tomorrow, of course, we have Halloween. Hopefully, you guys have your plans already in place. So let's get started. Now, one thing that we like to talk about when we're doing our presentations is about careers in the fields that we're focusing on. And today, because we're doing careers in special effects and makeup, I want to talk about a few of the possibilities that you might be able to follow through. The first one is called the special effects makeup artist, which is the main one we're going to be focusing on today. They are involved in doing makeup and prosthetics and costuming and props. So this is the most well-rounded career path, the special effects makeup artist. Related to that is the prosthetic artist, which is more specific, and that's that the person who's in charge of working with the actors and doing molds of their faces and creating prosthetics that are true to life, creating alien creatures or turning a person into like an older version of themselves or maybe a little bit scarred. So Diane is going to go into deeper detail about these two different careers and go into the specifics of each one. We also have the theme park makeup artist. I don't know if you guys have ever gone to the Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Orlando, but they hire a lot of special effects and makeup artists for those events because a lot of people come in and they want to do this big event, and they hire people to create zombies or whatever the theme is of that year. So different parks, I know Universal is the biggest one, but they also have specific haunted houses going on. We also have professional stage and makeup artists. These are involved more in theater, Broadway or little local theaters, especially when they do presentations about like the Phantom of the Opera or Cats. This is a really big and a good way to get started in your career. If you guys want to get started, I suggest joining your local theater because a lot of the times these places are really small, and usually the person who's doing the special effects is also in charge of props. So it gives you a really good solid background while you build your portfolio, because that's what you want to start doing when you're starting out, creating that portfolio. And finally, another career is the catwalk makeup artist. These are very related to the fashion world, and they usually do special events featuring fantasy makeup. So sometimes they do events portraying angels or mermaids, and displaying along with the clothes and stuff. So usually the person does hair and makeup, and the other person does the actual clothing. But this is a fun career that is starting to become more and more popular. So these are some of the careers that are available. Now, I also want to talk about tips and career advice to go along with it. One of the most important ones is to take pictures of your work. You definitely want to start creating a portfolio, start taking pictures of everything that you're doing, so kind of document all the areas that you're trying to focus on. Related to this is networking. It's always important. especially in this type of field, or like I mentioned before, joining your local theater to gain experience. And you get to meet actors, you get to meet directors, and you get to contribute by word of mouth. A lot of these are not advertised, they quickly just post a little flyer, or you learn from some of these people that you meet most of the time. A good way to practice if you're starting out is to practice, of course, on yourself or on family and friends. This is a good way. They're more than likely to help you out and practice your craft as you're starting to develop certain techniques. And to go along with this, you want to try to work on many kinds of people's faces, young kids, adults, seniors, people with like thin features or a little bit more chubby, to say the least. You want to create different aspects of the special effects makeup on different people, because skin varies, between a male and a female and according to age. So you want to have a solid portfolio that shows that you are very versatile, because you don't know where your next gig is going to come up. And if you show a nice portfolio that you work with kids, you work with adults, it gives you more opportunities as you're trying to land future jobs. Going along with this is having good people and interpersonal skills. Like I mentioned, when you're doing prosthetics, that process takes a long, long time. We're talking about 3-4 hours easily. And so you have to have a rapport with the person, the actor or the volunteer who's letting you do the special effects and makeup on them. So working on your personal skills, you want to make sure that they're comfortable, that they may feel at ease. If any questions arise, you walk them through the process, because it can be uncomfortable sitting in a chair for 3-4 hours while you're getting your face applied with makeup. And finally, we have 3D printing. Creating 3D printed objects is a really good way to add to your special effects. You can create masks or little tools or props for your character, and you want to incorporate that. And that's a really good way to add some spice into your costuming and special effects makeup. As far as books and resources, we have three that I like to recommend. The first one is called The Makeup Artist Handbook: Techniques for Film, Television, Photography, and Theater by Gretchen Davis and Mindy Hall. And all these three that I'm going to be featuring today, including this one, they are all available in the Miami-Dade Library. If you're not, don't live in the Miami-Dade area, you can still probably request it through your local library, through interlibrary loan. So, but this one's really, really good. It walks you through the different techniques and the tools that you need, how to start building your portfolio. The second book is called A Complete Guide to Special Effects Makeup 2 from Titan's book. This is a really, really good one. It is a more modern look at the special effects and makeup, and it presents a lot of pictures, and it walks you through the process on how each one of these creatures has been made. So that's a really, really cool book. And finally, we have Special Effects Makeup for Film and Theater by Janice Winter, which is also a really good source for creating prosthetics and effects, and easy to create makeup for the most part. Now, there are other additional resources that I like to focus on. There is a trade magazine that's called Makeup Artist Magazine. The spotlight's usually a different artist each month, and they cover, like tips and tricks, career advice, special tools. This is an ever-changing medium, and there's always new techniques being added. So this is a good way to find out what's going on in the current area of special effects. They also post jobs sometimes there, or conventions as well. That's a good way to focus your career when you're starting out. You might want to participate in some of those conventions. We have our YouTube channel, like I mentioned a little bit before the presentation to some of you. We have our channel called YOUmake Miami, and we have created a playlist that has different videos that cover different areas of this field. And finally, I want to mention a TV show that ran for 13 seasons. It's called Face Off, and it's part of the Sci-Fi Channel. This is a really good show. And now I'm going to pass it over to Dinah,
Right.
who is going.
Thank you so much, Hector. Like always, super informational. and a lot of knowledge that all of you can take from him and his presentation. So thank you again, Hector. Special effects makeup. If any of you have any interest in becoming a special effects makeup artist, please let us know in the chat. We'll like to know what your journey is at right now. So let's continue. As Hector mentioned, there is such thing as a prosthetics artist, and there is a makeup, special effects makeup artist. There's pretty much a gray line in between, because a lot of prosthetic artists end up becoming also special effects artists. But if you only want to be one, you're more than able to. You could be solely a prosthetic artist or a special effects makeup artist. But of course, the more skills you have, opportunities open for you. So prosthetics is pretty much the process of life casting. This is creating a 3D replica of a living being. They can even be an animal as well. And this is using molding to do a casting techniques. The prosthetics can be made from latex, silicone, rubber, but usually they don't go as far as the special effects makeup artist. They'll go ahead and only paint it like the flesh, whatever color whoever's going to be wearing the prosthetic is, right? And then we have the special effects makeup artist. This is pretty much the process of applying the pre-made prosthetics or like skin effects, like scarring, and they'll go ahead and apply that. But the artist will also go ahead and add color and the detail to the prosthetics, right? And this is, of course, they want to make sure that they accomplish how they look. Maybe there's some cuts or maybe some bruising. I don't know if all of you have these essentials, but maybe you want to take note of these essentials that you will probably need if you want to begin as a special effects makeup artist. So one of the number one essentials, you'll definitely need liquid latex. Now, you want to make sure that either you yourself or whoever you're using it on doesn't have a latex allergy. And next we have the modeling wax. So this wax is kind of like flesh color, like your color of your skin. And this is for like smaller things like wounds and scars, instead of using like those pre-made prosthetics, right? And then you have stage blood. Now this could get a little yucky because you have like different types of blood. I don't know about you, but for me, it creeps me out, so I just don't use it. So there is such thing as the gel blood. They also have like liquid, and this is like if you want to like spray, like squirting blood. And of course I have paste that looks kind of yucky, which is the one I have on the screen. It looks kind of like scabbing. I don't know if any of you like ever, like you cut yourself and you pick at your scab. That's sort of what it's supposed to represent. It's kind of yucky. Next, we have the color palette. And of course, you want to be able to know how to work with colors because you're going to be mixing them. And then you have your color wheel. This color wheel is the most basic one. This is the one that you could probably begin with, as it does have the most essential colors that you'll need. Like, for example, someone who has a bruise, this will be the perfect color combinations. Then you have your concealer. According to your skin color or the skin color of whoever you're applying the makeup to, you want to have the right concealers. And then of course, you have your setting powder. Your setting powder is going to help whoever you're applying the makeup to is sweating, the makeup doesn't come off. And this list is not exactly in a specific order. So next we have the spirit gum. Spirit gum is an adhesive. It's like a glue, and it's very, very strong because it's going to have to fight against sweat. So you also need spirit gum remover. So make sure if you are looking into becoming a special effects makeup artist, these are some of the essentials you'll probably need. And next, you'll definitely need your application tools. These are a set of brushes. You'll definitely need many brushes, different sizes, or whatever works for you because every artist has different preferences. You'll need some sponges as well. And you'll need a color mixing palette. As you see here, it's like a metal palette. You know that all painters have like color palettes, but the makeup artist has to have a metal palette because it's not as porous, right? And then next you have the sculpting tool that you could see the gentleman holding, and they're trying to get some makeup on. And next you have the airbrush. So it all depends on what is your preference, but these are some of the essentials. And now I wanted to talk just a little bit, if you are really interested in going into becoming a special effects artist yourself, maybe you want to look into these famous special effects artists. The first and foremost, the father of monsters, Mr. Rick Baker, and he was an American special effect makeup artist. If any of you have seen any of his works, you'll know what I'm talking about. He won 7 Academy Awards, and I believe he also had some Oscars that he won. So that's pretty cool. Some of his famous works are American Werewolf in London. If any of you know Michael Jackson's Thriller video, he was the one that created that werewolf. Dr. Seuss, that's one of my favorite, How This Grinch Stole Christmas, Men in Black, The Nutty Professor, and my ultimate favorite, Maleficent. So that's Rick Baker. And next we have V. Neal. She is also special effects makeup artist. And the reason why I have her here is because she's actually one of the few women in the industry. So I thought it was very cool, and I had to showcase her because she's super talented. And if any of you know any of her work, if you've seen Beetlejuice, Mrs. Doubtfire, and Edward Scissorhands, that's her working. So, and if you watch the sci-fi show Face Off, she is actually one of the judges. And next, what you all been waiting for, we're gonna have my colleague Nicole show us how to make scars, a quick DIY, and then we're gonna have Jaden. So I'm super excited.
Thank you, Dinah. I'm going to be showing you how to make, you guys can see my screen, there I am. Okay, I'm going to be showing you how to make this. This is a wound on your arm, and I did it like 9 o'clock this morning, so you can see the top is starting to come off, but the bottom still looks good. And that's because I move my arm, and it right here, I get more movement than I get down here. So if you put your scar in a place where your skin doesn't move much, it's going to last a whole lot longer. So you can see it like coming up and buckling. But this is what we're going to be making. And we start with a tissue, like a facial tissue that you would use to blow your nose. And you cut it to the shape that you want. In this case, I wanted it to look like something had clawed my arm. So there are going to be 3 claw marks marking my arm. And we're going to turn it in like that a little bit so it looks like you went like this and just like clawed me. Okay, so I cut the tissue to the shape that I wanted, and actually all 3 of these were about the same triangular shape. And then once I have it the way that I want, placed the way I want, I take this tissue and I split it, because it's 2-ply, and you need to split it to make this work. So these are going to mirror each other. I'm going to want to try and make sure that I get them correctly placed so that they can, so it'll look good. All right, so I know where I want to get it. And I'm going to use like generic, regular white school glue. Put this right there. And I'm going to cover that area with glue. And I'm being pretty generous with this because I want it to stick. And I can use my finger and spread it around and get it in all the areas where I know it's going to be. And I especially want to make sure it's on the edges. So I place this here like so, and I'm going to tap it down, make sure my edges go down, because like you saw up here, the edges come up first. You want those edges to be down on your arm, stuck to your arm. Because when it dries, you can see how this one dries. where in the places where the tissue is thin, it blends right into your skin. It just disappears. It's pretty cool. Okay, so we've got the first layer down, and I'm gonna put a bead of glue all the way around the edges of my triangle. Whoop. There we go. And I'm gonna take this top layer, and I'm gonna just put it on top. I am not worried at all about the inside of this one. I just want the edges. All right, and then once we get all of this blended, I'm also not worried about little bits and chunks coming off, because if you did have a nasty gash like this, you might have like gross gristle and stuff just hanging out near your wound. And this is blue. It's a blue silvery wound, just because the idea behind this is that you could look completely normal, and then something like opens up gashes in you, and people realize, oh, maybe you're not human, and then that could be your entire costume. You don't need anything else. So right now I'm taking tweezers. You can see how it bubbled out in the middle because I didn't glue down the middle of this layer. I'm going to break it apart and pull it out. And you can use tweezers for this, but I find it a little bit easier to break it open and then use scissors, and then just very gently clip up and down. It's just straight up and down so that I open that center, and I can use my tweezers to pull it a little more and tuck it into the glue. So it looks like I have a gaping open wound. Okay, here we go. Like so.
So are you supposed to be an alien, Nicole?
Just for today, yeah.
You're an alien disguised as a human?
That's right. Got like a body snatcher situation going on. And I'm gonna pull it open a little bit more down here. All right, once you have a shape that you want, you've decided whatever creature it was that scratched you, that's as far as you got. We're gonna let that dry. You want the glue to dry, otherwise it's gonna be a little bit more difficult. So tweezers aside, and this is already dried, so we're gonna work on this one now. I'm just gonna take like generic liquid, I don't even know what this is, foundation, makeup, whatever it is. I'm going to just put some on my finger, like so, and I'm gonna just dab it around here just to turn all these little white pieces. I want them to be the same color as my skin. So whatever color you need to do that, just make it the same color as your skin. And I wanted to make sure that the stuff that I used was all just really, this is like generic drugstore makeup that you could find pretty inexpensively anywhere, or if you have makeup, like you're likely already have this stuff in your house. All right, and I don't need to put it in the middle so much because I'm gonna be coloring that blue and silvery, but I definitely wanna get these edges, and because there's so much divots or whatever, I'm gonna use this paintbrush, pick up a little bit of my foundation, and I'm gonna make sure that all my little white parts turn the color of my skin. Blend it in as well as you can. Get it all in there. And this is just a generic paintbrush. It's just something I had sitting around my house. All right. Okay. And once you feel like you've got it blended on the white areas on the tissue, I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to use it in a minute. Don't need that anymore. And I'm going to blend this into my arm. Actually, I'm going to leave the glue alone because this glue is still drying. So I'm going to blend it up here, like just past my arm, just whoop, blending it out. Blending it out. And it looks like it's just an extension of my arm for the most part, except for this blue and this glue over here. So then once I do that, I'm going to take the color of my blood. In this case, it's blue, which is weird. And this just happened to be a color that I had in my crafting closet. So I'm going to drop a little bit right in the middle, And then I use that same brush and I'm painting the center blue. Painting the center blue. I'm just dabbing real quick. I'm not using strokes because I don't want to move my tissue. I don't want to mess it up any more than I have to. And once I get the middle nice and like solid color, I'm just gonna real quickly tap around it so that I get a little bit of blending started. There we go. All right, so now we've got our base. Set aside my brush, set aside that, and I bring out my eyeshadow color palette. Again, really generic, inexpensive color palette. So this one, I wanted blues and silvers and purple. I'm gonna use a makeup brush, and I'm gonna pick up, first I'm gonna start with a darker blue, because I've got a really light blue in here. I'm gonna start using a darker blue, pick it up, and just dab around where my tissue paper is raised. And if you're doing, like, if you wanna make it look like regular human real blood, you would put red in the center, and then on the outside, like I'm doing this dark blue, you would use browns and dark reds, because it's supposed to look like the blood is coagulating around this gash that you got. So if you're gonna be doing a real wound, definitely browns. You're gonna need that to make it look like it started to coagulate. All right, so I've got a dark color, and I always keep a tissue so that I can just wipe off that color. And then I'm gonna pick up another in-between color, not as light as this, but not as dark as this, and I'm just gonna come a little bit out here. So that way, it looks like maybe there's bruising around this gash, this wound. I'm afraid to go into the glue, watch out glue. Ideally, you do all three at the same time if you're doing 3 gashes, but it's okay. I wanted to make sure you guys saw all the steps. Pick up a little bit more. And then I do want it to look kind of silver in the middle. So I'm brushing this off again on my tissue, and I'm gonna pick up this really light silvery blue, and I'm gonna go right in the middle. See how it gets just a little bit shinier? And it would work better if I let the paint dry before I started trying to put eyeshadow over it, but it's getting a little bit lighter, a little bit shinier right there in the middle. All right, and that is a really, really quick, everyday items you probably have in your house tutorial. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I'm gonna just pass it on over to Jaden, who's got some really, really awesome stuff to show us.
There's a question for you.
Yeah.
When did she take off the tissue? I don't think you took off the tissue. There might be some mistake in there, but
Let me show you.
maybe.
No, it's still there. The tissue is just glued onto my arm, but I can show you what happens when I do take it off. Do you see this? Because the bottom layer was still there, it just kind of peels right off. It's pretty cool. Like, it's almost like liquid latex. It's just glue. It's like when you're in elementary school and you put glue all over your hand and then you peel it off and you got your, what's that called? Your fingerprints or whatever. Mm-hmm. I hope other people did that and I'm not just a total weirdo. But it's like the same thing.
I did it. I still have to stop my students from doing it.
Okay. But yeah, so I hadn't taken enough. And it lasts for hours. Like I said, I did that first one at like 9 a.m. So it lasts a long time.
Awesome. Thank you, Nicole.
Here's the big moment you guys have been waiting for. We're gonna do a crazy full-on makeup look. So I'm gonna be doing this like sea creature kind of character. So I got a head start and started painting myself in the background because this is really time consuming. But I have red contacts on to like add to the look. And I started with my base paint. I also have some finned ears on as well. And I'm gonna show you guys. I didn't tack it on with spirit gum because I just honestly didn't want to get the glue stuck to my sideburns this time around. But this is what the ears look like. See, it's latex on the inside. And I painted it and did like a little blue gradient to make it match the skin tone that I was going for. So since it's like hollow on the inside, you basically put it around your ear, kind of like a cuff, like a sleeve. So I'm just gonna slip it on over my ear, more for show. like this.
And Jaden, did you paint that ear?
Yes, I painted it.
Okay.
So I used the same paint as my face so that it would match. And you see how here there's this little flap of latex? You would put the spirit gum here and then you would like tack it on like this for it to stay stuck down onto your skin. So I have my ears on right here and you can see there's a little hole in them so I can still hear out of them. So they're pretty practical. And I'm mainly going to be using just 2 colors today. It's going to be this light blue that I have as my base, and then this darker blue that I'm going to be using for like some shadows and effects. So I'm just going to be using a regular paintbrush and some water here from my sink to wet this and apply it to my face. So I'm just going to start with a solid blue base layer. I'm going to see now. When I
And
do
is
the...
that,
Sorry?
No, I was saying, is that a specific makeup that you found for your face?
Yes, this is a water-based makeup. You can find it in any like Halloween store. Like we mentioned earlier in the presentation, there's like water-based makeup and then cream-based makeup. So this is water-based in the fact that it needs water to kind of be activated so you can spread it more easily. The good thing about this type of makeup is that it's very easy to wash off. That could be both a pro and a con because if you go outside in the rain, it'll probably all come off. But on the bright side, when it's time to wash up, it's very easy to wash it off your face. Another thing to note is, obviously I got a little head start in the background while you guys are presenting, but make sure that whenever you're applying any kind of makeup to your face, wash your face first beforehand. I went ahead and washed my face before I started slapping all this color on. Just because if you don't, it could clog up your pores and cause breakouts if you don't want that. The hardest part to paint is always around the eyes because your eyelids crease naturally, you know, because you blink and stuff. So when I'm doing my face, I usually start at the forehead so it can start drying as I work my way down to the rest of my face. But the eyes and mouth are always the trickiest part. Try not to get paint in my eyeball. It's like I said before, it's gonna look really streaky. The first coat, you're gonna see all the paintbrush strokes, but you're gonna go back and do a second coat to smooth it out. Get all these creases around my nose. Blech. It's a little bit more difficult when you have facial hair as well. It's not easy to paint over that, but I'm doing my best here. So I'm just gonna keep going at this as quickly as I can. Sorry if you're getting some ASMR from the sink running in the background. I'm gonna start to look really creepy. It's happening.
Jaden, is this your Halloween costume?
Yes, it is. Might as well be if I'm already going through all this stuff with makeup.
Yeah.
Yes. Of course, when you're doing close to your eyes, be very careful not to get paint inside your eyeball. I think I just did. Don't do this without supervision, kids. Don't be getting paint in your eyeballs. I don't recommend it.
Also, make sure if you're going to be using sharp objects, kiddos, please make sure you ask your parents for permission and help.
Yes. Don't try this by yourself at home, kids. So I'm trying to get as close in there as I can without poking my eye out. I already feel the burn. But you'll see slowly but surely I'm getting full coverage here. I'm just gonna go over my mouth.
Hey Jaden, Jose
Yes.
has a question. He wants to know if you recommend anywhere to get colored contacts.
Yes, well, that depends. My contacts have prescription, believe it or not, because I'm blind without my glasses. So even though they're crazy colors like red and green and purple and stuff, I need prescription in my lenses. So if you want contacts just for the crazy colors, like you don't need prescription in them, I believe, because it also depends on where you're from, because I know here in Miami, there's most Halloween stores carry just like crazy colored contacts. But if you're looking more like maybe the cosplay side of things, I know one website is called Pinky Paradise. It's a Korean website. So most of these lenses are usually not from the US. They're shipped out. And of course, they're contact lenses that are, some of them are daily, some are monthly, and some are yearly. So depending on how long they last, that will have an effect on the cost of the lenses and prescription versus non-prescription. There was another one for cosplay, but it's escaping me right now. I can't remember, but if I remember, I'll mention it.
Did that answer your question, Jose?
I don't know if somebody can type in the chat Pinky Paradise.
Yeah.
That's one of the websites I know of.
And also, while you're applying your makeup, I know Jose says he does a lot of cosplay, but I know you do a lot of cosplay as well. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that while you're applying your makeup. Some of your experiences.
So I know Pinky Paradise is one. I'm trying to rack my brain right now to remember what the other one was. I really can't remember. But I know the other website that I have in mind, the contacts that they carry are the same exact brand as the ones that Pinky Paradise has. So I guess they're pretty much interchangeable. You can get them from either or. I think it was, no, never mind. I thought I got it and it just escaped my mind again. A little scatterbrained. Okay, so I got my base color, still looking a little, and I just wiped some of it off. Okay, so be careful to completely dry off your brush. It's not wet when you go back to put more makeup on your face because you'll wipe it off by mistake, like I just did. Was there another question? I'm sorry, I think I interrupted.
No.
Okay, my perfectionist is kicking in right now. I get it. Okay, so now I'm gonna go with this darker blue and start adding a couple more shadowy effects under my eyes. I'm gonna wet this as well. Hopefully my eyelids aren't too wet.
Do you recommend letting the first coat dry out a little bit, or is it perfectly okay to use like you're doing right now to kind of do a blend? What do you recommend when you're doing this?
It depends on what you're going for. I'm trying to do this kind of like shadow effect, but it is better to wait for it to dry. The only reason why I'm not waiting is because, you know, for time purposes, I want to make sure that I try to finish this whole look in time. But generally, yeah, you do want to wait for it to dry between layers or else you risk messing it up. But you see, it's kind of like this shadow right now. It's not too visible yet. I'm going to keep adding to it. You can start to see a little bit of a darker shade of blue on my eyelid than the rest of it. So I try to blend it in. I'm going to do the same for the other eyelid. Again, the eyelid is the hardest part to do because you're constantly blinking and stuff, and your skin there creases very easily, so it's the trickiest part to get on and around your eyes. Trying to smooth it out. It's also like making my contact lens slide around inside my eyeball.
Now, did you come up with this particular design all on your own, or was it inspired by a particular character? How did you come up with this? No, I came up with
this on my own. This is like a made-up look that I had. The finned ears were from a different costume from a long time ago, and I just decided to make this like sea creature look. And even to make my facial hair like part of it, I'm painting my beard like a slightly darker shade of blue to add a little something to that as well. All the way around. Kind of just blending it in. When I'm done doing this blue, I even put a little bit on my lips. Make it blend in. I'm gonna take some eyeshadow to do more effects around the eyes. Right now you can see my eyebrows are painted over with the light blue and it's very streaky. So I'm gonna refine those lines. I have this like double-sided eyeliner pencil. It's dark blue on one side and light blue on the other, kind of to match the two paints that I chose. So I'm gonna take the dark one and kind of color in my eyebrows so they're more defined, because right now they're kind of streaky. So it's literally like just taking a coloring pencil and just coloring in your eyebrows. Just keep going like this until it's all colored in. And see, compared to the one on this side, this looks a little better than just having it look like that.
It really makes it pop. Now it looks a lot fuller, darker.
Yes.
That looks nice.
Mm-hmm. And again, this is a look that I kind of just designed. I wanted it to be all blue and just using different shades of blue just for continuity's sake. And right now, it's looking a little streaky around my eyelids. You can even gently use your finger to kind of smooth it out a little bit, or a makeup sponge if you have that. See how I'm blending it a little bit here and smoothing it out? It's looking a little bit messy.
So Nancy asked, are you able to layer eyeshadow on top of the face paint?
Yes, and I'm going to do that next, actually. You can do that for highlights and shadows. It's great for that. I hope I'm not sweating. Like my forehead's looking a little wet right now. Yeah, just to add to the monster look, I'm gonna do a little bit of eyeshadow under my eyes. Just smoothing this out here with my finger, very gently. See how I'm blending it in? Because it was looking kind of streaky. That looks a little smoother now. It's starting to look like something. But inside the ears, I don't know if you can see it, but I did kind of like this gradient effect from the inside kind of panning out. So I wanted to keep that consistency throughout the rest of it. So I'm going to take this eyeshadow palette and take the darkest one and just do a little bit under my eyes to add more of a shadow to it. I'm trying not to accidentally stick this inside my eyeball. You can see there, I have that darker blue above the eyelid, and I have this other shadow underneath the eye, and it adds a little bit more to it. Trying so hard not to blink. And again, if you guys have questions as I'm doing this, I can answer them while blending this in. Do that.
So far, no questions, but and then of course at the end we're gonna see the end product. But Jaden was also kind enough to take a couple of pictures, and maybe we're gonna share those at the end also to see the final look of this, because it has a lot of little details. It has like gills and the little scales as well. So it's a very detailed makeup process.
Right now I'm adding just a little bit to the tip of my nose. Again, just to add some shadows in places. Make it a little creative.
Okay, so Jaden,
Yes.
Brianna asked, where do you recommend getting prosthetics?
I got most of my prosthetics online, honestly. I think I might have gotten these ears on eBay, actually. Sometimes prosthetic shops might have shops online, like on websites like eBay or Amazon, but it was a place that sold a bunch of different ears. Like I have elf ears, I have Vulcan ears from like Star Trek, and I have these like finned ones. Another prosthetic that I have, but I wasn't gonna use because it's a little too creepy, is pointy teeth, like an entire row of pointy teeth. It looks really intense. There's a place called, I think it's called Dental Distortions. They sell like fangs and teeth and stuff like that, which is really cool.
Thank you. And Sophia asked if are they gonna be doing makeup on themselves? And I'm gonna say, I hope you do, Sophia. And if you do, totally send us a picture on Instagram.
Yes.
YOUmake Miami. Because I want to see it.
So I've gotten most of the details that I wanted. It's not too smooth, but I'm gonna go back later and add a final coat to smooth it out. But one technique I wanted to show you guys to do scales is a trick with fishnet. So you can't see it because it's hidden in my hair, but I have this like wig cap on, and I'm gonna use the fishnet pattern of this wig cap to do a scales effect. I'm looking here in the light, and it seems like my forehead is still a little bit damp, so I'm gonna try to pat it a little bit so it doesn't smudge when I try to do this. Just like pat it a little bit. Kind of smooth this out a little bit. Make it look more cohesive. Okay. Now this is where it gets a little scary. I hope I don't mess this up because I have one shot at this. But I basically took my darker blue paint. I didn't put too much water because, again, if you put too much liquid on top of a layer that's still drying, it'll smear it and mess it up. So I have this dark blue paint. I'm going to pull down fishnet and I'm going to paint over it. Kind of like a stencil, basically, to make this scale effect. I'm going to do it around up to here. And I'm just going to dab it on like this. Again, this washes off very easily with water, so I'm not too concerned with the wig cap getting paint on it, because that can easily be washed off. I'm going to very carefully dab this on. And you're going to see when I remove the wig cap, the negative space of where the fishnet is going to create this really cool scale pattern. So let me just get all of that. This is my favorite part of the look. Make sure I get all of this. Again, like that, let it dry for a few seconds. Smooth.
And just to give you, Jaden, a little heads up, it's 5 minutes to 5 p.m. We have no problem going a little bit over the time. We're not limited. But if anybody needs to leave before or after 5, that's perfectly okay. Like we mentioned before, we will be posting this presentation on our YouTube channel. But you're more than welcome to stay because there's still a little bit of process and we don't want to rush Jaden. It's coming together really, really nice, Jaden.
Yes. So you can see here this cool pattern that came out when I lifted the fishnet. Now I look like I have scales on my forehead, which is pretty cool. So I got that. And then the last thing that I did for this look, just to outline the eyes a little bit, I put just a little bit of eyeliner on the top eye to outline it slightly, just so it doesn't blend into the paint so much. Again, it's a little hard for you to see what I'm doing. Remember to be careful not to poke your eyes out when doing this. So I'm just doing like a little bit here.
Hey Jaden, Treadwell asked if whenever you get a minute, could you like look into the camera so that we can see it a little bit clearer? Right now you look a little bit far away. It's hard to see the fine detail.
Okay, I will. Right now, my eyes are a little smudged, so bear with me. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do one last layer of the dark blue over my eyelids, and then I'm gonna look into the camera so you guys can see it up close. Because it's looking a little wrinkly.
Perfect. Thank you, Jaden.
Just smooth it out. So now it's a little bit more pronounced. You can see that. Just gonna smooth this out. As you can see, this is a very time-consuming process. So if you're planning on going all out and doing a crazy makeup for Halloween, make sure that you have plenty of prep time to put it together.
Jaden,
Yes.
we have a question from Jose. He's asking, do you know about this website called uniso.com for contacts, and if you recommend that?
I've never heard of that one.
Mm.
So I don't have any experience with that website. I'm sorry. That one I
Sorry,
don't know.
Jose. Nisco. I don't know.
I don't know if you guys can see me here.
Yay! Look at his red
Yes,
contacts.
very fish-like, yeah.
So yeah, you can see that a little more closely. You can see the scales and my eyes. I probably look greasy up close, but yeah.
It looks pretty cool.
So that's pretty much the look for now. I have this whole face paint look. I can take this thing off. I have crazy green curls that kind of works for my look.
It works perfectly.
So this is my fish creature look. That's
Yay!
pretty much it.
That's great. Were you gonna do something on your arm?
I was gonna wear a shirt to take a picture with it later, and I was just gonna do like a selfie, if you will. So I just wanted to paint the one arm that was gonna be in the photo, not the whole thing.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
A fish feet.
A fish feet.
Selfie.
Yes, a fish feet.
So it seems like Jose had a question. He asked me where I got my ring light. I actually got it at Walmart fairly recently.
Yeah.
So Walmart, and also you can find it on Amazon, but I needed it immediately, so I went to Walmart because it was in person rather than ordering it online. But those are two places you can get it. I think it's the same model either way. I hope that helps.
Yep.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Got a lot of information and great tips. Thank you, Jaden. You look awesome. Take that selfish, what is it called?
Shelfie. It's a
Shelfie.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody has a
We still
question.
have time, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I wish to say you have now showed me the beauty of makeup. I myself do not wear any makeup, but this has changed my mind. You are incredible. Thank you for sharing, everyone.
Yeah.
And have a
Of course.
fabulous
Thank you.
Halloween.
Who's talking? Who's the one who's
This is
talking?
Frances, your new girl, your new
Yay,
follower.
Francis. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. Jaden, Nicole, Hector, thank you so much for all of your great knowledge. Bye, guys.
All right,
Happy
thank
Halloween.
you.